Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. That covers it all, wherever you may be. All over the globe. A globe that is covered with stamps. Stamps everywhere. Stamp collecting is fun, and it's the hobby of kings, as we've discovered. And easy to do, difficult to do, though. So both easy and difficult. Inexpensive and extremely expensive, depending what you want to do. So, what am I talking about today? What am I waffling about today? Well, this character here, King George the V1, which is King George the Sixth and Queen Elizabeth. Not the British Queen that has recently died, but her mother, the Queen Mother, the Queen Mum, as she was referred to. Though probably not in front of her. She was a royal, majestic lady, old school. As old as the century itself, I believe. I think she was born in the year 1900. So I'm going to look at these stamps today, and they tell me, according to what little research I've done, that the George VI stamps are easily and readily available, inexpensively as well. So you can get the whole set. You know, if you want one of every stamp, they're pretty easy to find compared to every other reign. Apart from Edward VIII, I would suggest. So, I'm going to show you what I've got just by going through various, arts and crafts stamps that I had shipped in, and I also had a folder of British GB stamps for cash, and so I've swiped a few from those. A couple of albums, and I'll show you what I'm up to with regard to putting it all together in a book. I shouldn't tap stamps, should I? So, what are we looking at? First of all, we'll go to my first stamp here, which is the coronation stamp. There were supposedly four, but they only brought out the one because there wasn't enough time. They decided to use the same date for the coronation of Edward VIII for George VI. So Edward VIII abdicated, so they thought we'll use the same date, save money. And as a consequence, the powers that be in the post office, or the stamp designers, etc., didn't have time to do four of these stamps, so there's only one of them. So you'd expect to see a blue one, a red one, a green one at different values, but they just did the penny halfpenny. Classic stamp, beautiful stamp. I believe the first time that the monarchs appeared as king and queen, so, Victoria was always on her own. Edward VIII was always on his own on the stamp. George V was on his own on the stamp, and almost like a switch to modern era, king and queen. Oh, he was the king, and she was just the queen. When he died, she didn't take over. Oh no, sir. But a tip your hat or tip your crown, maybe, to the modern world, where women, well, they'll be giving them the vote next. Are valued slightly more than they were maybe in the past, even though Queen Victoria was a woman. It's strange, isn't it? Strange. We think we know stuff and we really, really don't. So we've got the first set of stamps proper that came out. And I'll talk a little bit about these. I mean, I'm no expert, okay? So don't take anything I say as read. Do your own research. Follow people who know what they're talking about. Plenty of people online who can explain stuff. Search engine on YouTube is magnificent. But the first stamp is the halfpenny green. And what we see in this is the crown above the king's head. Now, what we do know is that queens always wear crowns. So Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II always wear the crown on the stamp. The males don't. So the male monarchs, Edward the Seventh, George the Fifth, Edward the Eighth, George the Sixth, don't. King Charles the Third doesn't either. That is why. So even though it's not sort of noted as such, it's a standout point. What else do we see about this stamp? Well, it's got the four symbols of the four countries or principalities or countries, yes, that make up Great Britain. Great Britain. Julio Britain. So we got the Rose of England, the Thistle of Scotland, Daffodil of Wales, and the Shamrock of Ireland. So all parts of the United Kingdom, or Great Britain as it was then, is catered for. We then go down to the 1D, which again, you see, it's a nice red, penny red. Oh, I think it's scarlet. I think it's called scarlet. But it's a beautiful stamp, and we also see postage and revenue. You don't see the word revenue anymore on stamps. In fact, you don't see much on stamps anymore. In fact, you don't see stamps anymore. Love them or leave them. Use them or lose them. 1.5D, which is the brown. Orange, 2D. 2.5D blue. I had one of these, a violet. I've only got one. 4D. This colour being, I believe, green. But as you can see, it's quite faded, so I think it actually belongs hither. So I may talk about that again later on. 5D, which is brown. Again, it's slightly white, isn't it? 6D, purple. 7, green. 8, red. 9 is deep green. 10 is the blue, then the plummy, and also here we've got brown. So you've got to be careful with these. Okay, first thing I noticed was it goes from hither to thither. So you've got a blanked out sort of cameo there. So there's no cameo, there's no hexagonal behind the king there, but there is here. So it is a completely different set, is it? No, it isn't. Also, the symbols of the four countries, the four parts of Great Britain, are different. So, is it a different set? Is it the same set? As far as my knowledge is concerned, it is the same. And why they changed halfway through, I've not discovered. So, we'll go back hither now. So why have you got, Peter, a 1D here and a lighter shade here? And why isn't this notated in the Stanley Gibbons Book of All Knowledge? Everything you need to know about the world is in the Stanley Gibbons. Because there's only stamps. That's all I'm interested in. Well, a few other things as well. So why is one deep scarlet and one lighter? Well, this was reintroduced, or should I say, these stamps were reintroduced in 1940-41 when ink was running short. It was the height of the Second World War, so ink supplies were diminishing, and as a consequence they used less ink and you get a different shade. So these are easily, apparently, standoutable from the original ones from 1937. And this set were used as the definitives. It's called the King George VI and National Emblems from 1937 to 1947, but with this differentiation with less ink, so a lighter shade. Now, are any of these belonging? Well, I think that may be, and I will have to, keep looking to fill out those gaps. So what I intend to do is put my 37s here and 41s here. Anyway, time moves on. The next thing I want to talk about are these stamps here, which are from 1939 to 1948. They're bigger, as you can see. Mr. Bigger. Let's have a... Can I get one out without destroying it? Yes, you see how much bigger they are. Beautiful stamp, nice shield there. Lion, rampant, unicorn. These were... they're probably got a name, but I don't know what they are. Or what they're for, even. But you know. There are 4 of them, and I've got 3. So there's a 2 and 6 brown, green, and 5 shilling one. I've got a number of the 5 shillings. I haven't got the 10 shilling, the 10 bob, as we would call it. Shillings are bobs. So if you ever hear anyone saying 2 bob or 5 bob or 10 bob note, those are shillings. And the only other stamp that I've got is this beauty for the Festival of Britain. Now, what can I tell you about that? I'm sure I've got other. Just looking at my notes here, Festival of Britain. So it's one of the last stamps. Festival of Britain, 1951. So coming to the end of his reign here, this is 4p. There's one other which is red. I'm sure when I start to look hard enough, I will find them. There are others that I haven't got. For example, the Postal Union one I haven't got, and others as well. But you sort of get the idea. So it's the beginning of the beginning, as Churchill may say, or the beginning of the end of the beginning. And this is the end of my. This is also presentation. I wouldn't call it anything as grand as that. But this is where I'm up to, and I'm going to continue working on this today. By working, what that means is somebody here. So I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.